About a week ago, I had planned on doing a piecemeal coverage of Smash JT's Got video to follow up my reaction video. However, recent developments have shown me I don't have to. Jeff seems determined to make an absolute fool of himself online. And of course I don't know where the nonsense will end, but from what I can tell, Jeff has all but turned his channel into a platform for fighting petty conflicts with other people he doesn't like.
Smash and I have a situation and he can't get me off of his mind. Smash has been obsessed with me since this, making 5 videos about the situation, talking about me for a good portion of it. Don't forget the numerous articles on smashjt.com because he is a journalist. Oh, and all the live streams versus, well, my one video. In fact, he's so mad he's watching like all these videos about it on YouTube, commenting about it, getting mad if it's not preferable to him, getting upset at people that are actually reporting objectively on it, like Sid Alpha, or even Fratanga talking about it. He's obsessed, so upset that some people find this really interesting. People noticed numerous trends of Smash's reporting on various topics and had a lot of questions.
But what has been particularly hilarious to see is how all this animosity from Smash JT is also animosity from a guy who tried to promote himself as a voice of reason between woke ideology and so-called Christianity, which was really just a bunch of hot air being blown on X by several individuals. And if you scour X or YouTube, there's a lot of people who have various opinions about video games, so why target these specific people when they start talking about their opinions? I don't understand what is driving this other than maybe Jeff just wants to go full-blown lolcow and reap the benefits from the ongoing circus that his platform has become at this point in time. His beef started, understandably enough, with Alyssa Mercante, but then it transitioned to several people on X, like Melanie Mac and Razorfist. And now his vendetta has since metastasized, and he's placing other personalities like McDizzle Gaming, Sid Alpha, and Fratanga on his list. So where exactly does this all end? Now, I've addressed this video specifically to McDizzle Gaming because there was a point I wanted to make concerning Jeff's MO, and there is something about his content I believe must be understood. Back in February, Jeff produced a video talking about Daniel Vavra of Warhorse Studio and Vavra's feud with John Della Rose.
Warhorse Studios co-founder Daniel Vavra has gone all in against writer and self-proclaimed defender of Christian values, John Della Rose. And the headbutting here all started over Della Rose's outrage of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, featuring an optional side quest with the heavily gay romance scene involved.
Well, the very next day, Jeff produced yet another video showing he had lost over 150 subscribers, meanwhile apologizing for talking about his opinion in the previous video.
When I get something wrong, boy, do you guys let me know I got it wrong. And yes, I'm sure welcome to my own opinions, and you guys have always welcomed those. I'm not trying to say that I'm not allowed to think what I want to think and talk about that. I want to be clear here, and I understand exactly why the community on the whole was like, yeah, it's cool, it's fine, whatever, but a lot of people were very frustrated with my stance because I wasn't listening to you guys. I was just talking to you about the situation and why I feel a certain way, instead of taking in all the information.
And what Jeff did not disclose was why the loss of 150 subscribers made anything he had said wrong. Even more bizarre was this was Jeff reporting himself. Nobody exposed this. He was basically admitting that he failed to repeat back to his subscribers what they wanted him to say, and that somehow made his previous opinion incorrect? So am I right in assessing that Smash JT's viewers go to him to hear his takes, but only if they are the same takes that they already agree with? Then why go to him at all? Well, it's because this is all psychopolitical. This is a psychological cushion against reality. And the reality is, Smash JT's audience do not go to his channel to get the latest scoop from an inside source. At least not in a way that would gratify the desire for more information. McDizzle is 100% on the yellow journalism comparison in that what Smash JT is doing is entirely sensational. That the truth does not matter so much as the sentiments surrounding whatever the current current story is. Adjacent to this, how many people fell out of engagement with Grums on X, even after that whole debacle of him posting that fake NDA from EA BioWare that was supposed to have been sent to Mr. Matty Plays? The central issue, as I see it, is that the truth doesn't matter to these people, and that's the biggest problem that I have with this whole Gamergate 2.0 block of online entertainment. It's built on a lot of sensational bullshit and very little truth. Now, I talked about this moment on stream, but just to nail it down in scripted format, I want to isolate a portion of Jeff's Got video where he talks about publishing his Assassin's Creed Shadows video based on false information that was provided to him by McDizzle.
So getting this email lined up exactly with everything else that I'd been seeing and hearing, and it just made sense. But he was claiming that I don't check my sources. I didn't even bother asking if it was him or anything like that. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if I asked him for more information, because clearly if he was trolling, he would have come up with something else to push it around or say, oh, I'm skittish, I can't say anything here. And at the end of the day, it's just his word, and I gotta either trust it or not. And I trusted it, and it was not the right thing to believe.
So what Jeff is saying here now is that he essentially flipped a coin and chose to proceed. He even says the words, "It doesn't matter." This is a huge self-report. He is basically admitting that the objective truth was not as important as the narrative. And for someone who wants to distance himself from corrupt journalists, this is exactly the kind of behavior that exemplifies why people even had a problem with journalists. Namely that a lot of these corrupt journalists favor a narrative over the cold, hard facts. And the cold, hard fact was that Smash JT's source was not legitimate, and Jeff went with it anyway, because the narrative he was trying to construct was more important to him. Getting a video out as quickly as possible was more important to him. Securing his place in YouTube's algorithm was more important to him. Reaping views, likes, and comments was more important to him. The cherry on top is this admission right here.
And also, oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was very busy today, and this is something that was a timed event. And that's kind of how it got me, because it was like, oh, Ubisoft is going to announce this next week. And I'm like, oh, I need to get this out right now because I have stuff going on with the family this weekend. I don't have time to do a video this weekend, and I don't want it to be announced by Ubisoft on Monday. So I'm just going to run with it right now because everything makes sense with it. It all lines up. And sure, if it ends up being a troll job at the end of the day, I can still fall back on saying, well, okay, you got me with a troll job, but also this is something that is highly likely that is happening with Ubisoft. You literally proved nothing except that, yeah, you tried to confirm a rumor by claiming that you're an insider, when at the end of the day, now we just have you trying to troll somebody on a rumor that is still, in my opinion, very likely to occur.
I do not see how Smash JT orbiters and fans can justify this in any way, shape, or form other than to admit that yes, this is all sensational material made to gratify an audience who simply enjoys watching an ongoing dumpster fire. Truth be damned. Jeff admits he knew he was on a short timetable and says that rather than verify his source, verify the truth, he ran with the story anyway, even going so far as to talk about his thought process at the time. That if this story proved to be bogus after all, well, who cares? He would just explain it in hindsight. Again, I don't understand how anyone can justify this. What Jeff has essentially done here is admit that he will post something he has not verified because he knows he can just explain it later. And one supposes his viewers will just play along because look at that YouTube plaque he has in the background. And that dumpster fire, oh, that's just so compelling. Truth be damned. Now, the reason I started covering Jeff in the first place and where that path is led and where we are now is the supposed nothing burger that is Gamergate 2.0. And whether it was people talking about feminist frequency in the past or Sweet Baby Inc. right now, the result was content creators receiving a lot of attention online. And those channels would grow, but that would lead them to inevitably clashing with other channels over petty disagreements until, eventually, the message upon which they had initiated their fame and fortune was completely lost to the sands of time. The only other thing I wanted to cover in short detail was this video.
Just because you don't like what history was, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That was history. That's how things used to be. So you can cry about it and say that you're a PDF defender all you want, but if that's what happened back in the olden days when people didn't live to be 28 years old, then that's what happened. Like, you want to try to bring it up to modern day standards and say, oh, no, it didn't happen because video games in this pretend world, in this pretend fantasy, that you can't have that stuff. No, you're a PDF defender by saying that.
For context, Jeff is talking about sexual relations in the medieval period, let alone the fact that this is a homosexual relationship being referenced in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, let alone the fact that this treads all over the history of a real man who lived during the period during which the game takes place. Jeff's argument here is a straw man. The complaints being issued surrounding the sexual relationship between Henry and Hans have everything to do with the law. U.S. law strictly prohibits the production of any visual depiction of sexual conduct among minors, and minor specifically means anyone under the age of 18 years old. So the historical precedence has nothing to do with the fact that the base game shows two children engaging in sexual activity on screen. So yes, even if there is historical precedence, even if 15-year-olds had sexual relations in the medieval period, that does not mean that the current U.S. law just makes an exception for depicting the act itself in a video game. And note I say base game, because the hotfix addressing this in hindsight doesn't make that any less a hotfix addressing this in hindsight. The very fact that Warhorse had to do this is evidence that they realized this was a problem and it required a Band-Aid.
In the original Kingdom Come Deliverance, the codex entry for Hans Capone indicated that he was born, what's this key word, John F. Trent? Around. That's an operative word in a sentence. He just said he could have been younger, and I'm like, well, he also could have been older. Why'd you leave that side out?
Your Honor, the female who I slept with last night, yeah, she told me that she was born around this year. So obviously that makes it legal. Yeah, good argument, Jeff. Good argument. There isn't a sane individual who would ever go to bat for you on this subject. And it is incredibly revealing that you would rather twist yourself in pretzels trying to find historical precedents for sex between children, rather than just acknowledge that any normal person would acknowledge in this case, I don't want to see this in my video game. It is incredibly stupid for Jeff to allow his petty hatred for Christians and for John F. Trent in particular, for being a Christian with his own opinions, to have led Jeff to obstinately defend this subject matter. At the very least, one would think maybe one should err on the side of caution, right? No, Jeff is so ideologically driven and he hates Christians to such a degree that his knee-jerk reaction here was to strawman.
I would take the standpoint of, even if he didn't update it, the game takes place in an era where this was fairly commonplace, as far as I understand.
Great, Jeff. So that justifies watching them screw in front of you in your video game? Oh, and just in case you didn't notice, Jeff is also utilizing LOMI, the Law of Merited Impossibility. His initial argument was, this is fine, guys. It happened during the medieval period. Nothing to see here. Well, Jeff, Warhorse Studios themselves seem to disagree with you because they hotfixed it in hindsight. Oh, but now that's fine because Jeff will just adopt that position next.
It removed the descriptor that he was underage. Great. So they changed who he was to make sure that it wouldn't be PDF stuff. PDF stuff.
Gotta think, though, if you're being forced to defend pedophilia just because you have a petty vendetta against other people on social media, then maybe you're in the wrong here. But that's just my opinion, and my opinion doesn't matter.